Good morning. Good morning. I had to go ahead and record my video today, but I did not want to miss the opportunity to be with you all. It is such a privilege and an honor every single time that I have the opportunity to come and be with you. I'm so excited about the topic this week of justice and the judicial system. As we talked about yesterday, justice is something that is written on your heart. It is doing what's right. And I want to encourage you today that the opportunity that you have to make the biggest difference and the biggest impact is right here in your own city, right here in your own backyard, right here in your local community. This is something that's really important to understand. You know, as I told you yesterday, this is treasure that you're receiving. This is something that you really want to lean into, that you really want to embrace. I wish I had access to this information at your age. But again, I want to encourage you that the impact that you can make, the difference that you can make is going to be the biggest right here in your own community, in your own city. Know who your local elected officials are. Know how the system works right here in Columbus, Ohio, and let this be the area that you seek to make the biggest impact. You know, as we talk about justice, we talked about how justice is something that we have to be willing to fight for, something that we're willing to contend for. But I also want to encourage you today that you have to be motivated by the right things. You know, when you think about justice, what is it that's motivating you to seek justice? What is it that's motivating you to fight for justice? And I want to give you two things that I believe that if you're motivated by these two things, you will be somebody who fights for justice, somebody who contends for justice, somebody who uses their voice, their influence, their resources for justice for the rest of your life. And the first thing that I want to encourage you to be motivated by as it relates to justice is love. Be motivated by love. We already know that justice is doing what's right, doing what's fair. And in order to not just desire that for yourself, but to desire that for those around you, to desire that for your community, to desire that for future generations, you're going to have to learn to be motivated by love. I would argue that justice itself is a product of love. If we loved one another as a society, if we loved one another as a community, justice would be a natural overflow of that love for one another. So we have to be motivated by love. The second thing that I want to encourage you to be motivated by as it relates to justice is truth. Be motivated by what is true. No matter how uncomfortable that truth is, no matter how difficult it's going to be to lean into that truth, no matter how inconvenient that truth may be, we have to be motivated by truth if we're really going to be guardians, gatekeepers, if we're really going to be voices for justice. I believe this is so important. And when we are looking to see justice play out in the institutions, in the systems, in the power structures of our society, that's really what we're asking. We're asking for love and we're asking for truth. We're asking for what's right. But I want to encourage you that you can be that picture. You can be that reflection. You can be that image of justice in your home, in the relationships that you have, in your school, at your job. You can be somebody who demonstrates, who puts on display what real justice looks like if you allow yourself to be motivated by love, to be motivated by truth. And I promise, if you're motivated by these two things, you will continue to be a light. You will continue to be a voice for justice the rest of your life. The last thing I want to leave you with today is that justice costs something. Why? Because love is costly. Truth is costly. Love is sacrificial. Truth is sacrificial. Therefore, justice is going to cost something. And sometimes we have to be willing to call people into a posture, into a position to pay the necessary cost, to make the necessary sacrifices to see justice play out in our neighborhoods, in our communities. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of asking people to pay that cost. Don't be afraid of asking people to make that sacrifice. But more than asking them to pay that cost and more than asking them to make that sacrifice, be willing to pay that cost yourself. Be willing to make that sacrifice yourself. So those are the things that were on my heart today, that we have to be motivated by love. We have to be motivated by truth if we're going to continue to fight for justice. And we have to be willing to pay the cost. We have to be willing to pay the sacrifice. And we can't be afraid to ask those in power, especially, to pay that cost, to make that sacrifice so we can see justice and we can see what is right play out in our community, in our neighborhood. So I want to leave you with this, as always, these affirmations: that you are loved, that you are strong, that you are an overcomer, and you are a world changer. You guys have a great day.